Welcome to Running the Table, the podcast where we run through everything on the table in the world of sports. And another week is in the books. Week 11. The season is flying by, but we're going to keep recapping football games. So, Tim, are you ready for another week of NFL football to recap?
Hey, we're in a bit of change of scenery back in the old stomping grounds, but another week of football. Let's run it.
Thanksgiving is right around the corner. We're both home for Thanksgiving break. It's a fun time, but let's do it. The first game we have is the Thursday night game, the Cincinnati Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens, where the Ravens won by 2 touchdowns, 34-20. The main theme of this game was injuries. There was a lot of them, for better or for worse. Lamar Jackson
Just
was
for
down
worse, honestly.
for a little bit. Did I say for better or for worse?
There was no better in
No,
this
there's no
game when
better
it
in
came to the
injuries.
injuries.
There's no
Especially
better.
with all the star players that came out with some injuries in this. When you talk about Joe Burrow leaving the game with that wrist injury that's proven to be a serious one,
Season ending.
which absolutely is horrible for them because I mean, there goes their season. That's what it comes down to.
That's it.
There
They're
goes their
done.
season. And then on the other side of the ball, you had mentioned that Lamar went down for a little bit. Thankfully, he was able to return to the game and able to play the rest of the game out. But then you have Mark Andrews go down with an ankle injury that has proven to be possibly season ending. They're going back on what they said originally and saying that there's a chance that he might return towards the end of the season, but it seemed to be pretty significant. I believe it was a fractured tibia and like an ankle ligament injury, which not
Yeah.
pretty, not good.
Those hip drop tackles, those will get you. But
Yeah,
I mean,
it affects a lot for both of those teams,
yes, it
and
does.
obviously having Lamar at least able to play. Okay, the Ravens still got a chance, but Mark Andrews has always been one of their their best offensive weapons, and they love using the tight end position. So we'll see how they're able to bounce back from that and how they use Isaiah Likely here going forward. We've seen Isaiah Likely have some solid games in Mark Andrews' absence, but he's no Mark Andrews, so we'll see. But the Bengals came out much worse out of this game than the Ravens.
Yeah, I completely agree. The difference in these teams is that if Lamar goes down with a serious injury, the Ravens have Tyler Huntley. The Bengals, if Burrow goes down, well, they have Jake Browning.
Jake Browning.
Jake Browning is about as fresh gets with in terms of like not having NFL experience, but now it's his show. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the Bengals are going to be one of those teams that look to acquire a free agent quarterback if Jake Browning can't cut it, because they still do have an outside shot. They still have a very talented team on both sides of the ball. So I've heard rumors like if Mac Jones just asks for his release, maybe that's something that they can consider.
That'd be kind of crazy.
Jacoby Brissett wants out of Washington, so that could be another potential option, or just one of those guys that like they sign off the street. The possibilities are really endless, but I mean, neither one of these teams are coming out of this any better than they entered it, with the Ravens at 8-3 taking on the Chargers Sunday Night Football, and the Bengals at an even 5-5. They have the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, very interesting moving forward, but we're going to keep moving on to the Los Angeles Chargers and the Green Bay Packers. It was a fun weekend if you're a Packer fan, and a not very fun weekend if you're a Charger fan. Let's start with the Chargers. They chargered another game. They did it again, and wasn't because of Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert absolutely balled out.
He did everything he could.
260, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, but he had crucial drops from Donald Parham, Keenan Allen, Quentin Johnston dropped the game winner, which
Quentin Johnston was brutal.
I don't know if it has something to do with the sun in Lambeau, because I know that impacted Keenan Allen's drop and perhaps Donald Parham's too. I don't know what happened on the Johnston drop. I think he just kind of like didn't look it in, and
I think he just lost focus. I think it was that split second where you not watching the ball all the way in. And that's crucial for a lot of these catches, and
it's
especially
tough
for a guy that's yet to really find his footing. Those mental mistakes can be killers, not only during the game, but just how he plays going forward, because it's really going to take a shot. It has a chance of taking a real shot to his confidence. Hopefully not, but it's tough.
It's crucial. That confidence is everything. Another aspect of the Chargers offense that looked a little bit off, Austin Eckler. He looked incredibly
He looked
slow.
like he was hauling a freight train behind him. I have heard that he was playing not 100%.
Allegedly.
Still dealing with some lingering injuries. If you see the clip of him making that break out off the left side, oh my gosh, I don't know if I've ever seen him run that slow. Like,
He
it
was
looks
hawked down, and it didn't really take much effort for Anthony Johnson to get him. And
nope.
with Brandon Staley, he just absolutely imploded at the press conference. Like
Yeah, man's having a
he
breakdown up
sounded
there.
like a guy who knew that he was getting fired sometime soon. He doesn't know when. He knows it's coming. He knows the writing's on the wall, and he's like, screw it. There's not much I can do about it. I've never seen Justin Herbert get that mad on the delay
Yeah.
of game where he wanted the ball like snapped. He got it, but it was way too late, and he just spiked the ball into the ground. I've never seen like Justin Herbert get that animated or like chew somebody out, like
Yeah.
and showing that emotion. Like Justin Herbert's just a mild mannered guy, doesn't really talk too much, just makes a lot of movie references. He doesn't really
He's a
show
very
that
cool,
emotion.
calm, collected guy for the most
It's
part,
it's
but
rare.
it's one of those things. Playing on a
So
team like the Chargers will
that'll do
get
that
you
to
some
you.
pent up rage.
Well, after everything he's been through, you just got to feel bad for
Oh
the
my
guy.
God.
And at 4-6, I think the Chargers are in an interesting place. But let's talk about a lot more positive subjects with the Green Bay Packers. We won. We won a
We
game.
did.
We're 2-1 in the
Jordan Love
last
looked very
three.
good.
Dude, Jay Love, QB1.
He looked
Tim,
good.
let's start a dialogue. If you look at Jordan Love's stats next to Jalen Hurts' stats, they're quite comparable for the year. So, I'm not going to make any assumptions, but I've seen that circulating on Twitter. So I think I just want to push that narrative out there just a little bit. Jordan Love, Jalen Hurts, I don't know, but
You can push whatever narrative you'd like. I just don't have to agree to it.
You don't have to agree to it, but
That's why we have our opinions.
correct. You're entitled to yours. I'm entitled to mine, no matter how wacky and not biased they may be. But I was going to go down this route. I have been in on Jordan Love
sure.
as the franchise quarterback much longer than most Packer fans have. I was in on him from the start. I bought the jersey like way far early, like about a year ago at this point, almost. Like I bought that jersey, and he's just showing why he has the potential to be that franchise guy. He's improving every single week. We've gotten over the rough patch. And in the second half, that's really when things start to click for a young offense. You have Jaden Reed making plays. He is a weapon. Dontavion Wicks is becoming a weapon. Those two guys in particular should really be featured more in this offense. Luke Musgrave was really, really good for a while. And if you combine those three guys with Aaron Jones and Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs, all three of whom are still very, very talented, you really do have something cooking. And it's a good problem to have for Green Bay because there's one ball and there's a lot of playmakers. I'm not saying that this is like, oh my goodness, such a great offensive core, but it's something to build around for the future when they're all healthy, that being the big thing. Because I don't know, Tim, if you've seen the Packers injury report, all of the guys I just named on that offense, with the exception of Jordan Love and Romeo Doubs, are on the injury report.
Yeah.
So,
and some of them more significant than others.
I'm going to list off Tuesday's injury report for the Packers, all the names. All right. And it's pretty extensive. Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, Emmanuel Wilson, so all three of our active running backs, Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, Dontavion Wicks. The latter of the two probably aren't going to play Thursday against the Lions. Luke Musgrave, who's probably out long-term because he has a lacerated kidney, and Josiah DeGuara, so that's two tight ends. Elgton Jenkins, our best offensive lineman. Kenny Clark, our best defensive tackle. Rashawn Gary, Devondre Campbell, our two best linebackers. Jair Alexander, Corey Ballantyne, Keyshawn Nixon. So that's three corners and two of our best. Darnell Savage and Rudy Ford. That is two safeties. So in all, that is way too many guys on the injury report. I think we need to get a new training staff. I think
I don't know what it is.
If LaFleur and Gutekunst had any brains at all, I'd just dismiss the entire training staff when the season's end. You just bring in a new one. Because whatever they're doing is not working.
You just gotta hope and pray that you can keep Love healthy.
Mostly lower body stuff. Shut up. Yeah. You shut your mouth.
I'm just saying. I mean, that's you've already
stop
lost,
saying it.
You've already lost significant enough pieces. Aaron Jones going down with the sprained MCL is obviously not great.
About that.
it ended up looking worse than I think it was, because it definitely could have been a lot worse than that. But Musgrave with the lacerated kidney, that's not good news, because as you said, Musgrave was continuing to look better and better.
Like,
no, that's
forget how he was looking as a player. Spent time in the hospital. Like, these are weeks long and like potentially season-ending injuries. So, we wish the best for Luke Musgrave, because I think that guy has a bright future in the Packers offense. The contingency, hey, we got Tucker Kraft, who did a thing. Like,
mac and cheese, man.
He had that almost touchdown. That would have been a really good highlight for his first NFL touchdown, but, stepped out of bounds. I digress. With the Packers going forward, they're sitting at 4-6, and due to all the tiebreakers, they actually do hold the 8th seed in the NFC right now. They have
really. That's crazy.
They're right on the doorstep. They are right on the doorstep of the playoffs,
wow.
which is crazy to say. They hold the tiebreaker over LA and Atlanta.
But as you mentioned early this year, though, they're entering probably the roughest stretch of their season in terms of opponents.
We have Detroit at Detroit on Thanksgiving, and then we have Kansas City at Lambeau. If we escape with one, or God forbid both, I'm going to be all in on this team to make the playoffs. Because those are,
if you escape with one of those games, that will be, either one of those would be very good,
huge.
Yeah.
So,
we'll see.
It'll be a tough test. So
but
it's not going to be easy, especially with that injury report. But any given Thursday. So we'll move right along. Next up, we're going to talk about the Chicago Bears and the Detroit Lions. And Tim, it's happy week for me, not a happy week for you, because the Bears just keep finding ways to lose games, like new, different.
I'm glad they competed.
Ways. Me too.
They should have won that game, though, 120%. They had that game in the bag, and they said, "No, we're good."
The happiest I'll ever be for the Bears is on a moral victory. Take your moral victory and run with it, as long as you don't get like an actual victory, because, I don't know how, but the Bears are the only team to have a +3 turnover margin and over 40 minutes time possession and still lose.
Yeah.
I mean, they forced Jared Goff to throw 3 picks.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was a great job to force that many turnovers. I mean, Jared Goff has not been a guy that has turned the ball over a ton this year. So to get him to throw 3 interceptions, great job, puts them in better field position. Overall, Justin Fields, I think, looked pretty decent.
Played well.
Yeah, obviously,
I'm not even going to give him. I'll say Justin Fields played well, which is not something you hear me say very often, because I'm a known Justin Fields hater. Like, Fields and Moore together, that connection was really, really good. Like,
I figured that DJ Moore would start to do better again once Justin Fields came back. That it was clear that connection is much more prevalent with Fields rather than with Bagent in there.
Yeah, because Bagent doesn't really target him that much. He spreads the ball a little bit more. And Fields he does the Ohio State thing, the one read thing, where he just zones in on his guy, and his guy just so happens to be the uber talented DJ Moore. Hey, heck it, DJ Moore down there somewhere. But, what's going on with the Bears, man? Like, at this point, what is there left to be said that hasn't already been said? I mean, you're helping your draft stock, and Justin Fields plays well. So, like,
I got to be honest, I know they haven't been there long, but I'm already tired of the coaching staff. I said it from the beginning that I didn't think Eberflus was the answer, and that's held to be true this entire time. I don't think Getsy's a very good OC either. Overall, I just think the coaching staff isn't. I just don't think the coaching staff is very good. Obviously, the talent, we don't have like a ton of talent to be super excited about, so it's not like it's a glaring coaching thing, but I still don't think the coaches are the right guys to build some of these guys up. So I don't think that they'll make a change. I don't think they'll even make a change at the end of this year. I'd like them to. But overall, the only real silver lining that we have is we're building for more draft picks that will either trade away or probably draft something stupid, because we're good at that.
Mayhaps. I mean, Darnell Wright is your second best kicker. That's your first round pick.
Woo!
Just kicking that ball right out of the end zone and crushing the dreams of so many bettors.
That was pretty funny, for the line.
Such a brutal beat if you had whatever side of that bet. I don't even know. But the Lions, they're 8-2 for the first time in 60 years. Wow.
Yeah. Since 1960 something, right? I forget which 60 it was, but
62, I think.
It was 62 or 63, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. John Kennedy was still alive. What a time. And they're going to drop to 8-3 against the Green Bay Packers on Thanksgiving.
That'll be a fun game to watch, but
listen, dog, if the Bears can stick with them for 48 minutes, why can't the Packers? That's all I'm going to say. And the Bears, they get the Minnesota Vikings on Monday Night Football. So next week starts with Green Bay and ends with Chicago. NFC North fun for everybody. But we have so many more games to cover. Let's move on to the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns, where the Browns won 13-10 on another walk-off.
Matt Canada's fired. Let's go.
How about that's what you open up with? We got to recap the game first. But
Matt Canada's gone. I've been waiting for that for a long time. And I'm not even a Steelers fan.
Why do you care? You're not a Steelers fan.
I hate seeing these coordinators stick around for so long when they're so atrocious. And when it gets to the point where your kicker calls out the offensive coordinator gets called out by the kicker in the locker room as they
good win. It ain't because of you, I can tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Boswell.
So it's become so much of a meme. That's why I
miss kickers with personality. Chris Boswell, Mike Vanderjagt, they make the world go round. Those idiot kickers. But I mean, listen, you say that these offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators that are just inept can stick around for literally as long as they want to, except if it's Joe Barry. He needs to be fired yesterday. How did you know? How did you know? Like clockwork. Joe Barry sucks. We have all this talent. Imagine what a real defensive coordinator could do with it. But, that's neither here nor there. Oh, man. Kenny Pickett, dude. He's not the guy.
He is not him.
Is absolutely not the guy. I think he has one multi-touchdown day in his career.
I believe he has one game of 2+ passing touchdowns, and with this week, Tommy DeVito is now up to 2.
I thought we were going to get there when we covered the Giants and the Commanders, but I mean, yeah, Tommy DeVito, the passing paisano. Hey, DTR with his first win.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was surprised when they chose to go with DTR over PJ Walker. I was an interesting call. That they necessarily made the right decision, but they come out with the win.
Who cares? It's going to be Joe Flacco anyway. Why does it matter? Joe Flacco is going to be engineering them. Dude, Joe Flacco on the back of that defense, going to get a second Super Bowl ring. Dude, what a time to be alive.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, but imagine going into the 2024 season, Joe Flacco takes him on a magical run, and we have to bring up is the Joe Flacco elite conversation again from 10 years ago.
I would love to see the Jets somehow make the playoffs and get a Joe Flacco, Aaron Rodgers playoff game.
Oh my God.
Jets versus Browns.
Oh my God.
In 2023.
Oh my God. Then we'd really be living in the upside down. But
yeah.
We keep getting sidetracked. Jaylen Warren with 129 yards rushing. He was pretty good.
He was the bright
spot. Definitely the clear RB1. And
which is so wild.
Dude, things might change though. Matt Canada got fired. I don't know if y'all heard. So here's a little fun statistic. The Lions, they posted that they were 8-2 for the first time, on their Facebook, and that got 25,000 likes in 2 days or whatever. The Steelers post Matt Canada got fired, and in the first not even 24 hours is already 65,000 likes.
Everyone's
crazy.
Rejoicing.
It's crazy. People that don't even care. We can just title the episode Matt Canada got fired, and not to say that I'm happy.
It's just funny. I gotta be honest, it's just funny because it's been such a meme for so long that it's it finally happened.
Oh, absolutely. But we got to keep it rolling, man. The Browns are at 7-3 in the year of our Lord 2023. I know, exciting.
Ow.
And they go to Denver to play the Broncos, who are on a 5-game winning streak. What is happening? And then the Steelers, who are at 6-4, go to Cincinnati to play the Bengals. But we'll keep right on moving along with the Vegas Raiders and the Miami Dolphins. AOC can't quite do it this time as the Dolphins win by a touchdown, 20-13, throwing 3 interceptions, a pair of which to Jalen Ramsey. I saw a stat that Jalen Ramsey has a 0 passer rating allowed. It really helps when Xavier Howard's on the other side. Just gonna put that out there. You
Yeah.
know, could be a factor. Tyreek Hill for the Dolphins, back to his usual ways. 10 catches, 11 targets, 146 yards, and a touchdown. Those receiving yards keep climbing on up. Devon Achane, he was back from that knee injury, took one carry, had one catch, and then tweaked it again and was
Right
never
back
heard
down.
from again. Right back down. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's tough.
it was just a precaution, but
Yeah, but still, I mean, you don't want to see him come back and immediately
no,
tweak
it
it, no matter how
sucks.
bad the tweak is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Dolphins were actually turnover happy too. They turned it over way more than we expected them to. Tua did not necessarily play well, racked up a lot of passing yards, but also threw a pick. So like neither quarterback necessarily played well. I mean, but the great teams find a way, and on the Raiders side, Devontae Adams got involved. Still free him though. Like get him back to Green Bay, whatever it takes. Sell the farm.
Yeah, no, in this one, it felt much more a case of they couldn't get Josh Jacobs going, so that really didn't make their job any easier in the passing game. And I give a whole lot of credit to Jalen Ramsey, especially the end zone interception, even the other one that he made were both great interceptions. I'm not saying that they weren't AOC's fault. He didn't play a great game. But I mean, them not being able to get the running game going definitely hampered their offense a lot. Good to see the connection with Devontae Adams continue to look, solid. AOC definitely still missed a couple of pretty open throws, specifically to Devontae Adams. Devontae could have easily been over 100 yards receiving if he found him on some of the ones there where he made some great moves, especially a double move up the left sideline that AOC just overthrew him.
I want Aiden O'Connell to work out for the Raiders so bad.
I obviously do too.
I want it to happen.
Yeah.
Like I want these quarterbacks to come in out of nowhere and like be a franchise guy. Like everybody loves that success story, and especially so close to you and so close to me geographically, where we saw him at Purdue for so long. Like we want guys like that to succeed. But in the meantime, he'll just have that game experience to keep getting better. And hey,
he's got to keep working. That's for sure.
Maybe it'll click. Like at some point. So it's worth a shot. So we're going to keep moving on. The Dolphins at 7-3, they play at the Jets on Black Friday, which is not something we normally see from the NFL. That is a first. The Raiders at 5-6, they go play Kansas City. The next game we have is the Giants, the New York Giants, defeating the Washington Commanders, and everybody in the NFL is happy about it because Sam Howell sucks. Sam Howell is not a good quarterback.
It was a rough game for him. He's been up and down, and this was definitely a down.
You don't say. 3 interceptions, including a pick 6. Not a great stat line, but it's okay, Commanders fans. He only accounted for half of the team's turnovers because the Commanders turned it over 6 times.
That's crazy.
It was bad to watch the Commanders on offense. How they got 19 points.
It was bad to watch him on offense. They made Tommy DeVito look like a good quarterback.
But that's
threw
fun.
For 250 and 3 touchdowns.
So that's fun.
It is fun, but I'm saying if you thought it was tough to watch the offense, I was more surprised by the defense and the fact that they were giving up fades down the right sideline to Saquon Barkley, and they made Tommy DeVito look like he's a good starting quarterback in the NFL. Which
welcome to Commanders.
Let's make
football.
that clear.
Well, let's hold our horses now. If he keeps playing well, there's a conversation to be had about Tommy DeVito.
Well, but this is the only game where I've actually seen something promising out of him in my mind.
But Tim, he plays the washed New England Patriots defense next week. So there's always a chance he could go for 203 touchdowns again.
There is a chance against the Patriots. You never know.
I'm just going to say, if Tommy DeVito leads the Giants to victory again, like if it's finally starting to click for him, then there is a dialogue to be had. I'm just saying, let the passing paisano cook, my dude.
I was glad to see them get Saquon involved quite a bit. That's going to be their best recipe for success, both on the ground and in the air. I mean, he had 2 receiving touchdowns, which was very interesting. But
who cares? Tommy DeVito.
I mean, screw me, man.
Yeah, because you're not talking about stuff that matters.
Hey, I'm talking about the game, man. It's not all about Tommy DeVito all the time.
Hey, we need to talk about practice.
We're not talking about Tommy DeVito either.
But we should be talking about Tommy DeVito because,
we already talked about Tommy DeVito.
He lives with his parents. What more could you like? Like, come on, dude. You like that?
A lot.
You like that?
He's an NFL quarterback.
Dude, that's just economically friendly play. All right.
That has nothing to do with football.
Listen, if I somehow was the Bears quarterback and I believe I could be just as good as all the other guys that have come through, I would still live at home. Would you not?
Your existence pains me.
That's okay. That's totally okay, dude. You do whatever you want with my existence. We're just here to talk football.
We gotta move on, my guy. We got a lot more games to cover.
That's facts. The Giants at 3-8, they're going to take on the Patriots, and the Commanders at 4-7. They're at Dallas on Thanksgiving. Speaking of those Dallas Cowboys, there's not much to talk about. Who could have seen this coming? Wow, a 23-point win over the Carolina Panthers, where the Cowboys play well and the Panthers don't.
And Bryce Young still looks like he's searching for how to play NFL football. Send him back to Bama, I guess.
Got to give him time. Got to give him more time.
Yeah, he's just not ready for the NFL. It just looks like he's not ready for the NFL right now. That's just kind of how it feels.
Well, the Panthers kind of got to live with it. They traded up. They traded up to do it. They screwed themselves over on this one.
They have to deal with it. They have to keep. You got to see
this thing out. Like
at least for the next couple of years.
And that's the thing about Bryce Young. He has so much rope that, like, at least for next year, like, if he's still trash,
for sure,
then, like, if there's a quarterback prospect that you really, really love in the 25 draft, I'm not sure that there is one. Hey, maybe Shedeur as a Panther, so you could get Dion as head coach, because Frank Reich, that seat is hot as well. But
yeah, and he just got
So, Eberflus, like, just got there for the Bears, and you're like...
This is his second year.
Yeah, but, like, he still sucks.
This is Reich's first year with the Panthers.
I know.
They'll at least give Reich another year, similar to what they've done with Eberflus, especially with the young quarterback.
Probably. They're not going to Urban Meyer Frank Reich.
But overall, they just don't have much going on. Both, on the offensive side or defense. Defense, you got Brian Burns, but...
He's probably going to get traded or cut, but, just like cap casualty. But the Cowboys on the other side, they do this thing where, like, Dak Prescott looks really good against bad teams, and, like, they thump the crap out of them, and then they play somebody competitive, and it's like, where did that dominant
It's a continuous
team go?
Cycle. Yeah.
And
it's the We Dem Boys curse. Every time they beat a terrible team, it's We Dem Boys, championship this year, and then they face anybody decent.
Beat a good team, and then we'll start talking about We Dem Boys and maybe winning a playoff game.
That's a start.
Because as far as we're concerned, it's the same old Cowboys, but those same old Cowboys are at 7-3, and will play the Commanders at their place Thanksgiving. The Panthers at a pitiful 1-9, which I know you're loving, at the Tennessee Titans. Speaking of those Tennessee Titans, they got smacked in the face by the resurgent Jacksonville Jaguars, 34-14. This game was just more about how the Jaguars look good and the Titans didn't. And that's pretty much all there is to say about that one. I'm not going to say that Will Levis' first game, like the 3-touchdown explosion to DeAndre Hopkins, I'm not going to say it was a fluke, but it was definitely a spark. And I think what we're seeing now is far more of the norm for what we get from Will Levis.
It was a flash in the pan, but it's not something you could possibly expect consistently with the way that offense is made up. Absolutely with an aging running back and an aging wide receiver one, and not much around those two guys, with a rookie quarterback that, was trying to figure out what the heck to do. You will have some of those really solid games, and you'll have some really bad games. This one kind of fell kind of in the middle. He didn't throw the ball very much. He did pretty well with when he threw the ball.
Yeah.
But overall, they were just completely outmatched in this one.
There's just really not much you can do.
Because the Jaguars remembered how to play football finally.
Yes, they did. Trevor Lawrence remembered how to play football. 4 touchdowns all by himself, 2 through the air, 2 on the ground. They scored on 5 straight possessions, and they could have made it even more points if they didn't settle for red zone field goals. So, like, when Trevor Lawrence to Calvin Ridley is working, it's beautiful. You love to see it.
Absolutely.
But that's the thing, though. It doesn't always work.
It's so inconsistent. There have been games that Calvin Ridley looks like the star Calvin Ridley we remember in Atlanta. And then other games, he's a complete ghost out there, and he might get 2 receptions.
Maybe. That's just what you run with Calvin Ridley out there. But the Jaguars are back in the win column at 7-3. They play at Houston next week, and the Titans, they get the Panthers. speaking of those Houston Texans, they defeated the Arizona Cardinals 21-16. And this was a good win for the Texans for a few reasons. Not because they beat Arizona. That's not why this was a good win. I mean, the Cardinals are 2-9, stuck in no man's land. More about them later. It was a good win because the Texans are finding different ways to win. They're not just winning on the backs of CJ Stroud and Tank Dell and Nico Collins. This time it was the defense. CJ Stroud didn't play well. 3 interceptions.
No.
And that's okay because you're going to have those games as a rookie. There's no way that CJ Stroud was going to continue.
But it's the fact that they were able to overcome
pace.
that.
And that's
the most impressive part of this game.
Mm-hmm. When you're a team that's on the up and up and you can find different ways to win football games, that is so telling for your future. And that should reinforce how bright this Texans future is, not just this year, but like going forward, if they can continue to build. And looking back in the draft, when they traded up to the 3rd overall pick with Arizona and forfeited that next first rounder, I thought it was a risky gamble because if you're still on the rebuild process, you kind of want your early first round picks, especially considering we didn't think the Texans were going to be very good. We didn't think CJ Stroud was going to be very good, but the gamble has absolutely paid off because Will Anderson is a leader on the other end. And you have guys that step up, make plays, and the Texans are 6-4. Which is really wild, going from the 2nd overall pick to knocking on the doorstep of the playoffs in the AFC. So
yeah, that's pretty wild. And especially you talk about the offensive side of the ball. They still passed for over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns in the air, which is still good. Obviously, you just want to limit the turnovers, but they're also continuing to find ways to make Devin Singletary look good on the ground. And some of it is he's just running better. But overall, I give a lot of credit to their offensive line because their offensive line has held up pretty well. But yeah, so they were able to find over 100 yards on the ground and a touchdown out of Devin Singletary, which is huge when you are starting to have some difficulty passing the ball. So yeah, on the other side for the Cardinals, Kyler makes them competitive. That's kind of all I have to say about that team. They make them competitive. They're still not a very good team, but they can compete.
Well, there's not much around Kyler Murray, and
that's the problem.
But Jonathan Gannon really likes Kyler Murray. Like he is Kyler Murray's biggest cheerleader, and that's really what matters. Because if the head coach is going to vouch for you, and you have this big old contract, and it's like, all right, we have our quarterback. Be the answer. Yeah. We have our quarterback position set, and we have multiple high-ish first-round draft picks. That Texans pick isn't looking very good now that they're
mid to high,
winning football games. But it's another thing that you can fall back on. It's like, hey, now we can take that tight end that we really want, like a Brock Bowers, or maybe there's a receiver that we really like Keon Coleman or Malik Neighbors, get Kyler some help. It's those moves that you truly can make. Say you want a cornerback and Kool-Aid McKinstry's there, which, coolest name in the high echelon of the draft. I'd want Green Bay to draft Kool-Aid McKinstry. Dude, if you got Jair and Kool-Aid, it'd be nasty. That'd be filthy. But of course the Packers don't make that kind of sensible pick. Either way, the Cardinals just have to stay the course. They're not going to be very good this year. They're not going to be very good next year, but it's going forward and it's a process. But we'll see if they can get their 3rd win against the Rams, and the Texans AFC South matchup against Trevor Lawrence and the Jags. Moving right along, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers fell to the San Francisco 49ers 27-14, and Brock Purdy, perfect passer rating, 21-25, 333, 3 tuds, no picks.
Yeah.
Can't ask for much more.
Yeah, exactly. Overall, the offense just did well. Everything was kind of clicking.
Wow. What an astute observation from our very own Tim.
I state the obvious. That's what I'm known for. But the Buccaneers.
No. That's my thing. I state the obvious things.
No, you make hot takes that are hilariously stupid.
Relax.
But
but when they hit, they hit.
That is very true. We just tend to forget all the ones that you make that don't hit.
That's the point.
But for the 49ers in this game, obviously everything on offense was clicking. Brandon Ayuk was back to being an absolute menace in the passing game, as was George Kittle. Overall, the Buccaneers just didn't make it that hard on them, it felt. So they just kind of coasted through most of the game.
But Rashad White snapped Talanoa Hufanga's ACL.
Yeah, and that one definitely hurts. I mean, overall great play. It's just a freak injury.
Cool
Um,
crossover, but like
yeah,
when they say taking your ankles, we don't mean taking your kneecaps.
yeah, he took his ligament on that one. Overall, we're talking about Rachaad White though. Talk about a guy that has really taken a step up this year in terms of just overall play. Even when he's not necessarily having a great game on the ground, like this game, he was 9 for 30 and a touchdown. He has a big effect in the passing game, and I figured that this was a game that he probably would be, much more utilized in the passing game out of the backfield because of the fact that the 49ers defensive line is as good as it is. And the fact that I figured the Buccaneers would be down, and I was right. They needed to pass the ball a lot. Baker ends up throwing the ball 45 times, 29 for 45, 246, a touchdown and interception. So again, you're asking Baker to do a lot. He's trying his best, but it's hard when the 49ers defense is as good as it is.
And that's all we have to say about that. The Niners at 7-3, they go to Seattle on Thanksgiving, the night game, and the Bucs at 4-6 go to Indianapolis to play the Colts. Next up, we have the New York Jets and the Buffalo Bills.
Ouchie.
This is a rout, absolute rout, 32-6. The Bills back to their dominant ways. It's the up, down, up, down, up, down of Buffalo. Like, what are they? We don't really know, but time is definitely running out on the Jets season. Especially when you replace Zach Wilson with Tim Boyle.
I get why they're trying to change stuff up, but it's not what I'm looking for if I'm the Jets.
Look, man, Tim Boyle is a Packers legend. I love Tim Boyle as the next guy. Is he our starting quarterback? No, he is not a starting quarterback in this league. As much as I want him to be, he's just there to right the ship until A-Rod maybe comes back. But if the Jets miss the playoffs, there's going to be no point of Aaron Rodgers coming back. So Tim Boyle is going to have to engineer this thing himself.
Yeah, and these next couple of weeks are going to be instrumental in terms of where this Jets season goes. If Tim Boyle doesn't cut it, similar to the way Zach Wilson has been playing, and they lose these next 2 or so games, doesn't really matter what Aaron Rodgers is looking at in terms of timeline. There won't be a point. And if I had to guess, that's kind of on the path they're headed. So as much as Aaron Rodgers wants to come back, I'm not sure if it'll make sense with where they're at in the season. And that was the worry as soon as he went down. What position will the Jets be in if Aaron Rodgers attempts to come back?
And that was exactly how it's going. At that point, like we didn't know because like you saw how much they struggled with Zach Wilson last year. They're still struggling with Zach Wilson this year.
Yeah,
like. And as much as I would have loved to have seen the Aaron Rodgers to Garrett Wilson connection, because I'm sure that would have been electric. I mean, Garrett Wilson's got to be frustrated with 9 yards receiving. I mean, my goodness.
You see some of these clips. He's absolutely cooking guys on defense, and he can't get the ball because that offensive line is so garbage that even with Zach Wilson, is looking for Garrett Wilson. He doesn't. And
that's another thing. The offensive line is so garbo. Why in the world would Aaron Rodgers want to come back to that? The fact that that injured him in the first place.
Welcome to the reason why he got hurt. In the first drive is because that offensive line is terrible.
Because you had like old Dwayne Brown trying to block on the blind side and it didn't.
The only real, and I can't even call it a bright spot. The only real spot on that offensive line is Mekhi Becton. And he hasn't even been playing that well.
Oh, Jets.
Jets, cry.
Just end the season, baby. The more things change, the more they stay the same. The Bills at 6-5, they have a tough task at the Link playing the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Jets that Black Friday game at home against the Dolphins. We have 3 more games to go. The NFC West showdown between the Seattle Seahawks and the Los Angeles Rams, with the Los Angeles Rams completed the sweep 17-16 because of a missed Jason Myers field goal at the end of regulation. It was a gritty game. It was a slugfest between 2 division rivals, exactly what you'd expect. The toughness of both of these quarterbacks really emerged here. Matthew Stafford got knocked around a little bit, never left, stayed in the game. We know of Matthew Stafford's trademark toughness, but Geno Smith showed some of it as well. He took a huge hit from Aaron Donald. He had to leave for a little bit. Drew Lock threw 6 times, 1 to the defense. And Geno Smith was like, you know what, screw this, I'm going back in. And he almost won him the game. He put him in a position to win, but, they missed. The other injury is Kenneth Walker. Zach
The oblique
Charbonnet.
injury. Yeah.
Charbonnet performed admirably in his absence, but that's still not an injury that you want to have. Kenneth Walker is one of those quality running backs that, anytime he's in the lineup, you're going to use him. But,
100%.
Injuries suck.
Yeah, no, especially this week felt like it was plagued with a lot of injuries around the league.
Overkill.
And for a lot of pretty key players on a lot of these teams, which you never really want to see.
No.
So tough on both sides of the ball. Even for the Rams, Cooper Kupp ends up coming up with another one ankle there. And even Puka Nacua is questionable going into next week's game. I think he has much more of a chance of returning than Kupp does. But I think they might have said low ankle sprain for Kupp, which is a lot better news than the high ankle sprains that he's been getting.
Kupp is more of a day-to-day than a week-to-week. Yeah. There's still a question, but
still, guys are getting banged up left and right. Yeah,
this NFL season is pretty much just going to be a war of attrition.
Yeah, basically.
So the Rams at 4-6 will go to Arizona to play the Cardinals, and the Seahawks at 6-4 get the night game against the 49ers. Two more games, Sunday Night Football, the Minnesota Vikings and the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos win 21-20
are on a roll
and extend their win streak to this many games. 5. They started 0-5, and then they just haven't lost for some reason. Russell Wilson plays good, doesn't matter, get it done. Plays poorly, doesn't matter, get it done.
Hey, he looked pretty solid in this one.
I don't. Efficient, yeah. Solid.
The reason I say solid is because he made some key throws in this game that he needed to make to put them into position, but also to find guys in the end zone. I mean, he's looking like he's got a pretty solid connection with Courtland Sutton, which is going to be huge for them if they want to have any success going forward.
I hate to be that
guy. Not
that
he's consistent, but
it's kind of what they paid him to do. They gave him a boatload of money to make those throws.
Don't get me wrong. He's still not playing to the level he's being paid, but he is looking better because everybody, I mean, we've obviously heard and contributed to the Rush is washed conversation.
Yeah, but don't lower the standard just because Russ was washed a season ago. And now he's got Sean Payton, and he's starting to play a little bit better.
And you argue with 5 wins in a row, though.
No, well, I'm not gonna.
If this is a different quarterback that is playing, very mediocre, inconsistent, up and down, but the team win 5s in a row, you would say, "Hey, doesn't matter, a win's a win."
No,
to me, you have to say the same thing here with the Broncos.
Trust me, that's what I'm saying. But I don't know, to say that Russ did well. I don't necessarily agree with that, but he did enough to win. I'm not trying to
claim he played well. Yes,
he did enough. And that's, I think, where we'll find common ground. He did enough to win. And you're right, the connection with Courtland Sutton is obviously there. 8 touchdown receptions for Sutton. I just think the key on this win streak, though, is not the offense, it's the defense. The Broncos' defense has been so much better against the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Vikings in the last 3 games.
All they needed is 70 dropped on them.
You get a dozen turnovers
dropped on them to reset.
Oh yeah, for sure. The Dolphins drop 70. It's cool, and then they just decide to play lockdown the rest of the way. I don't really care. I'm too busy laughing at the Vikings, man.
Yeah,
Pasternak can't get it done this time.
He played decent. He continues to find ways to find the end zone on the ground.
Even though he threw a pick, I'll say outplayed Russell Wilson.
Yeah, no, I agree. I am more impressed by the way he's been playing, in terms of how he's been finding a lot of these guys, continuing to utilize TJ Hawkinson. Yeah, and I think what's most impressive to me is everybody talks about if he was a good quarterback, then he would have been playing somewhere. But the problem is every place that he's ever gone to has been a not very good situation. You put him in a situation where he has some guys around him, and he hasn't even had Justin Jefferson back, and he's looked pretty decent. I'm interested to see when Justin Jefferson comes back. Will he use him a lot? Will there be a connection there? Because you might see this Vikings team, I won't say not skip a beat in the absence of Kirk Cousins, but technically right now they are playing better than when they played with Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
So
I'm not going to argue. I'm really not going to argue with that. I mean, one of those guys wears heavy chains. The other guy's a literal astrophysicist. I don't know. It kind of pays to be smart. So That's just my thing about Josh Dobbs. He definitely earned his stripes, though.
Oh, 100%. Give him a
Hey,
whole lot of credit.
but we'll see if the Broncos can keep their win streak going against the vaunted Browns defense. They're at 5-5. The Vikings are at 6-5, and they get the Bears on Monday Night Football. Our final game of the week is the Monday night game, Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs in a Super Bowl rematch where the opposite outcome happened. The Eagles won and the Chiefs quite literally dropped the game. Literally dropped the game. Dude, if I had a nickel for every time a receiver playing or associated with the Green Bay Packers dropped a game-winning touchdown this week, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot. But it's weird that it happened twice.
Well, for the Chiefs in general, I mean, I saw somebody posting about it. Like they said, the deep difference between 10-0 and 7-3, and they brought up 3 of those games where what's been plaguing the Chiefs is just these drop passes. You talk about the Kadarius Toney game with the pick 6 and drop passes. This one with MVS, and there was at least another one earlier there with their third loss where they just have receivers that have bricks for hands. I don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is either.
But yeah, they just. I mean, in this one, their leading receiver in terms of yardage was Justin Watson.
Like
so
everybody
that was an
dropped
interesting
the ball.
one.
Dude, Justin Watson had 11 targets, more than
Yeah,
Kelsey,
which is crazy.
I mean, hey, if he's able to get open, throw him the ball, but like,
well, yeah,
catch it.
I mean,
more.
Mahomes isn't going to be selective in terms of who he throws the ball to. If he's got guys that are at least getting remotely open, he's going to chuck it their way. Especially
Really,
with
a quarterback that's not
that's
selective about who he throws to. What's that like? I don't know. If you drop a ball where it used to be, you're done. But our new quarterback spreads the ball around. But Patrick Mahomes did what he could. Neither him nor Jalen Hurts played necessarily fantastic football.
No, not really. That was the interesting part of this game. Neither star quarterback really looked very star-ish.
You expected a better game. I mean, it helped that Jalen Hurts had 2 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, but I mean, whereas 2 rushing touchdowns much a factor of him playing or him getting pushed?
I mean, he is behind the best offensive line in football, so bringing
and in front of 2 of the best guys at pushing his butt.
Bringing back that Jordan Love and Jalen Hurts comparison. I mean, the dialogue has been started. I mean, comparable stats. Jalen Hurts got all these weapons around him. Best offensive line. AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. I mean, like,
wrong. Try again.
I mean,
wrong.
I don't know.
Wrong.
I don't know. I'm just saying.
I do.
The dialogue has been started.
And I'm cutting it off right there.
That's okay because there's been too much nonsense from us this episode.
This is true. This has been one of our more high-strung episodes.
Dude, I'm okay with that. I don't. Hey, it is what it is.
Eagles at 9-1. I gotta give them a lot of credit for that.
Literally speaks for itself.
Obviously, it does. They're playing very good football. And again, even in ugly games like this one, they find a way to win. And that just proves in general how much talent they have all throughout that roster to force a bad game from the Chiefs offense, even when their offense isn't, having a super fantastic one of their own.
It's like I always say, the great ones find a way to get it done.
This is true. Right now, the Eagles are playing great.
And at 9-1 next week, they get the Buffalo Bills, and the Chiefs at 7-3 are going to the Death Star to play the Las Vegas Raiders. But that's all we got from our NFL Week 11 recap. Definitely one of our more goofier episodes. But you gotta be lax, gotta be chill. Every now and then have a little bit of fun. We're talking football, hanging with the boys. It's a safe space. If you haven't seen any of our other recaps, we have the other 10 weeks on the channel. Go watch that, as well as some of our other content. College basketball season is right around the corner. It's picking up. It's gaining steam. It's not March yet, but it'll be here before you know it.
There's still plenty to talk about as we head towards March. So get ready for definitely some more college basketball content coming your way, because you know how much I and both of us together like talking college basketball. So there will definitely be college basketball on the channel.
Heck yeah, baby. Until then, let us know what else you want us to talk about. And until next time, we out. My goodness, Tim. Peace.
Happy Thanksgiving, baby.
Yeah. Eat lots of food.